So it's anything but vanity metrics. It's good to add more followers. Always good to get engagements, but when it comes to followers, don't let that be the only thing you're looking at because in the end, you want those quality people who are going to ultimately become a customer.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition, your go-to guide to solving your biggest retail social media marketing challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what marketers go through, from awful algorithms to terrific trends and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, the successes, and the stories of social media community professionals in the industry, just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, have you ever stepped into a new role in an unfamiliar industry and wondered how you'll ever get up to speed? Well, you're not alone. This is a challenge many marketers face, and it requires acquiring mountains of industry knowledge quickly. How can you immerse yourself effectively in the ways of a new segment when every industry has its unique traits and every audience its distinct needs? Learning to read the market winds, understanding your customers' desires, and navigating this transition are no small feats. And the pressure to deliver results can feel insurmountable when you're still finding your footing. But that's exactly what our guest today, Staci O'Prey, excels at. With her extensive background in diverse industries and a proven aptitude for rapidly adapting marketing strategies, Staci is here to shed light on this pivotal challenge. As a field marketing manager at Coldwell Banker Realty, she's mastered the art of getting into the nitty-gritty of new sectors swiftly and effectively, all while maintaining her signature creative problem-solving approach. Staci's journey offers remarkable insights and strategies for any marketer stepping into new territories. Hey, Staci, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you here. I'm wondering if you could share your initial approach when you step into one of these completely new industries.
Sure. Well, when I started in the marketing field as a consultant way back in 2004, my clients were marketing to my demographic. So it was really easy. It was pediatric dentistry. I had a young son, so it fit me perfectly. It was a med spa. It was real estate where it was right in that time where I was looking to buy a home with my husband. So it was very easy for me to market to myself. I was the avatar, the customer persona, as we like to call it. And that went on for about 10 years. And then I ended up getting a client who was a lawn service and equipment provider and also golf carts. So at first I wasn't even sure I was going to take him on as a client. I was a little nervous. I didn't know if I could do well for them. And I just dug into it. I researched them. I researched their competitors. I looked online at their social following, which they didn't really have one at the time. I also looked at their competitors, and I was able to really get my feelers out for who it was that they were looking to help, what their pain points were, what the demographic was, what the psychographic was. So it was a lot of research in the beginning, but it was well worth it.
So, how do you balance then learning, trying to pick up all this information about industry specific trends and information with actually trying to deliver marketing results as quickly as possible?
When I take a client on, when I took clients on, I would give about 2 weeks to really do that research and understand who it was I was marketing to. There's a balance. So when you bring on a new client, if it's just social media, they expect day one, they're going to have posts and engagement and everything is going to be great. Well, there's a learn and apply. So as you're taking those 2 weeks to learn the client and learn the competitors, you also want to provide them with their marketing, in this example, social media. So what I did for this particular client at the time was while I was learning, I took their content. So I basically had them do a short video on who they were, what their why was, what their story was, some customer testimonials, some user generated content. So I had things that were going out. We were starting to build in the algorithm. We were starting to get noticed. So by the time I really had to do some of the marketing and in posts for that for a product or a service that they had, I already had some engagement on there, and so I could get right into it. But I was always learning the whole time. It was just that initial, I would say probably the first 30 days of getting up and running, researching, getting content from them, sharing their story, and then going with the flow after that. And at first, for people who are just starting with social media marketing and they're looking at a brand new business, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But with all of the things that we have, all the tools that we have, especially now with AI, there was no AI, there was no chat GPT when I was looking and researching. So now you could even start your initial search with an AI product, say chat GPT, get an outline and go from there. Hope that
Yeah,
answered.
that's exactly right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah, today you could use the deep research function instead of ChatGPT or Gemini if you're a Google ecosystem user and get all kinds of really deep information about the business, your target audience, the competitors. I've done that many times and it's fascinating. But I love your approach because starting with some videos about the company, the founder, that kind of stuff, telling them story. That's that's social media marketing 101, right? But that's true for no matter what business we're talking to. That's kind of great
Mhm.
basic content that everybody needs to start with. It's safe content for those of
Yeah.
you who are just starting with a brand new client. Absolutely get them working on that, get them posting that, and give yourself that time. So, what are some key strategies that you've used to actually understand and align with each one of these new target audiences that you need to start talking to and relating to through the content?
So I find that competitor research, let's say again with that social media example, and where are they posting? Are they advertising? You can find out who's what person or what company is advertising on Facebook, what their ads look like, how much they're advertising. So it's kind of like a sneak peek at what they're doing, but also finding out what that client or that prospect, what are their likes? Where are they found online? Where do they like? Are they a Facebook person? Are they Snapchat? What platforms are they on? And really understanding what their pain points are. So using the lawn equipment and service provider, that is so far from anything that I knew about. So it was like, okay, who are their clients? Well, they have homeowners and they have service providers, lawn and landscaping. I don't know anything about that. I even had gone to the clubhouse at my HOA and asked the guy who ran the landscaping for our neighborhood, just got an idea of the equipment that they use and just sparked up a conversation with him, which I always would say hi and see him, but understanding how much equipment do they have on their truck? What types of things do they look like they need help with? And I know it might sound odd, but that's who I'm marketing to for certain products that they're selling. So I have to really understand how can I help them? I'm providing a service, they're providing a service. What is going to make their lives easier? Again, what are their pain points? And then fitting that into the content, even with the way that I would write a caption or an email subject line in the email body, something that I would write for a demographic like myself when I was doing the pediatric dentistry. I know how to talk to a person, usually moms, usually in the same age range. With this particular client, I had changed my wording even from "we're moving and we ain't taking it with us. We ain't taking the things with us." Obviously, I wouldn't use that at a med spa or I wouldn't use that for pediatric dentistry, but trying to get in that lingo, I guess, and that talk of that demographic, I found really helpful. Now, I was the first person they had ever hired. They were waiting to hire someone in house, so I was kind of temporary. But wow, they were blown away because they never had one, they never had marketing. Two, the results that they got, the click rates, the engagement on social media. Sure, it was new and it was fresh, and their friends and family started seeing some of this stuff. But um, it was the first time I had ever done marketing for a product. I had always done service. So, for instance, pediatric dentistry, you don't just send something out and get a patient. It takes time. You have to build that trust. Same with a real estate agent. This isn't I'm sending you an email or I'm posting something on social media and all of a sudden you want to list your home with me. It's a long-term play. It's a long game. And so when I did the product, I was blown away. Social media marketing organically, we were just doing it organically and just an email and text campaign. They were bombarded with people reaching out to try to get a product, to get some lawnmowers, and they were selling golf carts and they were blown away. I was blown away because I don't normally hear from the client that morning or that afternoon after something's gone out that they've just had 5 orders within the hour. So it does work if you know how to approach that demographic and that person that you're looking to market to. It's very important.
Friend, Stacy just shared something incredibly profound that I want you to go back and listen to that segment one more time so that you really ingest it because I'm almost laughing at myself because a moment ago I shared how cool it is to use AI tools to do research, and it is cool. But you aren't talking to your target customers when you use AI, and you have to talk to your customers. I know it's something a lot of people don't want to do because it's time consuming and it's kind of messy, and you got to be okay with that because you have to learn the way that they speak. You can do surveys, that's okay. It will never be the same as picking up the phone and talking to them. Or kudos to you, Stacey, actually literally getting out of your house, out of your comfort zone, and walking up to somebody and, hi, how are you doing? I'd like to talk to you about what you do. It is awkward and it's a little weird feeling, but man, the results speak for themselves when you do that well, and you get to learn the way that those people communicate and ingest that into the way that you communicate. So that's clearly an example of something that performed unexpectedly well. I'm sure it's not all been roses and rainbows in some of your work. Have there been any examples of things that just didn't quite pan out the way you'd hoped?
Sure. There wasn't anything that I've done with the client that was a total bomb. There was one instance where I was working with a real estate group and he wanted to build his YouTube channel, and YouTube shorts weren't around at that time. This is probably 2019. We were doing long form video. So I would say 4 to 6 minutes max. And it was all about for sale by owner. And it's one of those things across the board, and I should have said this before, is always do your keyword research because if you're marketing, whether it's a dentist or a lawyer, um, a doctor, and you're putting this content together, you want to make sure that the way that you structure it is optimized for Google SEO. So you want to search those keywords. What are people looking up? And so I found in this instance, people weren't really looking up for sale by owner, but this agent wanted to have a library on his YouTube channel, hopefully to get some keywords in there and get picked up when people were searching it. But he wanted to have a library. So what we did is we took that 4 to 6 minute video and I chopped it up and I had little trailers, teasers, now they're reels. So we would put those out on Instagram and Facebook and then have them go watch the whole video, go back over to the YouTube channel. There weren't a lot of, I think in the first month, maybe 6 people clicked on that video. It was probably more than I thought, thinking, okay, this is really just for a library, but I wanted it to be successful. What we did after we finished, it was like a 7 video series for sale by owner. I thought, okay, there's engagement on the short videos. Is it the length of the video? Is it the content? Is it the caption? What I had him do, I was working on his website at the same time with a web designer, is he was an expert in 7 neighborhoods, 7 suburbs. I had him go to each of those areas and film a short 30-second neighborhood spotlight, which we called neighborhood spotlight. And he got in front of the camera. One of them was at a golf course, wrote him a mini script for him saying, this is where I'm at, give some key points. It's beautiful, 400 homes, just little tidbits about the area, make it short and sweet. Put that on his YouTube, put that on his Instagram. and it was like 230 in the first 2 weeks. So I thought, okay, that's what they want to see. They want to see the actual area that they're going to buy. He focused on home buyers. A lot of agents I've worked with focus on listings, but he was a home buyer. People want to see the area. We know how many people are coming to the San Antonio area. We're pretty sure where they're going to want to move, but let's give them a little bit more because we want to let them know that he's not only an expert in real estate, but he's an expert in the communities in the area. And the more he was on camera, the more they got to know, like, and trust him and feel comfortable with him. So I don't know if the first sale by owner would have been a fail. Um, but I like to think it was a win because we figured out by cutting those videos down and changing the location and changing the topic, it ended up being an ultimate success. So it was a win-win, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime you can take a learning
Yeah.
and improve out of that. And one of the things that I love about this conversation already is that you're sharing so many truths about marketing and social media marketing in particular. Show off your humanity, your personalities through video, right? Have that face and body language and tone of voice that can help develop trust, particularly in a industry like real estate. That's gold. It's you have to do that. Um, Telling our stories and then telling customer stories. Those are all truths that apply to every business, things that they should be doing. And that's helpful to know because, again, if we're coming into a new industry, these are the kinds of rule book type things that we can roll out as new social media managers before we even really know very much about that particular industry. I'm wondering what role then creativity plays when you're coming into an unfamiliar industry.
Oh, I think creativity is key because you're learning and especially with a budget. So I'll start this with being creative, problem solving with a budget because when a social media manager or marketing consultant brings on a client and you're focused on small business owners, they don't have a big budget, so you have to do with what you have and being creative, such as user generated content. Let's say you have signed on to do 5 posts a week. Get user generated content. You can do contests. Let's say pediatric dentistry, show us your smile and win a $50 coupon or an Amazon gift card or something like that. Um, One of the contests that we did, this is a while back that I just remembered, was where in the world is your toothbrush? And so the kids, it was over summer break and they would go, to grandma's house, a toothbrush. They would go camping and take a picture of their toothbrush. And then that gave them, I think we had 110 from what I remember, 110 photos that were submitted. And that you could just post one a day. Now you wouldn't want to do that because that would get redundant, but all of that content, you're not needing to that client's not needing to pay for someone to come up with a graphic design. That's all user generated content. When I've worked with real estate agents, having user generated content would be testimonials. Whatever industry a marketing or a social media manager is niching or working on, there's something that you can get testimonials for a yoga studio, testimonials for a coffee shop, any of those businesses. You could have those people that come into your business take a photo, tag the business, put the location on in the business, and that spreads, and that goes a lot farther than, having to advertise all the time. Facebook advertising is expensive, so I always say, if you can nail down your organic and then you need some more, then obviously bring in that paid advertising. I think those are really the way and here's a quick example from during COVID. I had just taken on this particular real estate group in the end of 2019. So we were right on the cusp of everything getting shut down.
Mm.
Now, a real estate agent is a local business. So would it be best to support your local businesses? We had all of the businesses basically shut down. All of the restaurants, all of the locally owned gift shops, all those things were shut down. And how did we figure out how to support them. What we did was we ran a couple contests. So we were able to go in and get gift cards, and then we would have user generated content, take a picture or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the contest was, but we would have people just like you would see on Instagram and Facebook, tag a friend, do all that good stuff. And then we could support the local business. They can't go in the business, but they're getting money by us giving them gift cards. So when they do open up, the person who's won that gift card. And they were so appreciative of that. When you're supporting your local businesses and you are a local business, they're going to support you back. I also tell clients when and people are busy, especially the agents that I work with, and they can't get on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and like and comment on everything or post every day and put a new reel up. But what they can do is maybe spend 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening after they've eaten dinner and comment and engage with local businesses and therefore supporting them. So um, there are ways to get creative, and sometimes we get more creative when we're, stuck against the wall, but I like to think that most of us in the social media industry, the marketing industry are creative, and we usually end up coming up with something good. And we can brainstorm with the client also.
Yeah, yeah, those are fantastic tips. I particularly love the point about UGC because I've been talking with small businesses, marketers, professional marketers, even platforms like TikTok, and they all agree UGC content performs best, even if it's not literally UGC content, even if it just looks like UGC because the brand created it, but it doesn't have that highly polished look that a lot of consumers are just naturally kind of turned off by because they know, oh, okay, that's just a company talking about themselves. Folks, we're talking with Staci O'Prey about the challenges and the opportunities that come with entering new industries or markets. And I've got several more questions for you aren't going to want to miss. But first, let me share with you a quick story from another retail brand, Fracture.
Fracture is a company out of Gainesville, Florida, founded on the belief that the printed image has a lot of power. We wanted to make it as absolutely simple as possible for people to take photos from being buried in their camera roll on their phones to being something they can celebrate on their walls. Originally, we essentially were doing a lot of manual social media management. And then as the company grew, we started to try different platforms for social media management and marketing. Most of the ones that we used, we were somewhat satisfied with, but never found something that really addressed everything that we needed. We use Agorapulse for our social media marketing. It's really fantastic because it allows us to connect the marketing side of what we do with our customer support. We now use Agorapulse to easily assign a support request as soon as it comes in. Agorapulse has really allowed our company to expand and upgrade our social media management abilities. I think that smart marketers nowadays are constantly on the lookout for new companies like Agorapulse who are able to deliver the same kind of results in a leaner way that ends up saving you money.
So, Stacey, one other thing that I was wondering is about this idea of collaboration. I see a lot of companies doing it. A lot of companies aren't doing it. How important do you think collaboration is, particularly with industry experts, when you're trying to adapt a marketing strategy to a new industry like this?
I love that question. Collaboration first for the marketer is crucial. When I first joined Social Media Manager Group, it was probably 2015, 2014. I was looking for a group to take the classes, learn about the platforms, learn about social media marketing in a little bit more formal setting versus just watching free YouTube videos. And I will tell you, that was the best 14 or $1,500 I have ever spent. I am still in contact with those people who I went to classes with. We've done masterminds. We did one in Atlanta, Georgia in 2019. When I need help, like for the new client, a new industry, those are the people that I go to. I do the research online, I do that, but I always reach out and say, has anybody ever done a golf coach or whatever industry it is? And there's always someone in the group who has done that. So collaborating with your colleagues, I think is huge. We had a big group with the social media manager school, and then we have a little offshoot from that next level marketing group. We had already been working in the field and doing that stuff. So the questions that you would get in the beginner group, like what's your favorite third party software, those things over and over. We were working on strategies in our group. Always helpful, especially if you are a solopreneur and you're working from home. You don't have a marketing team around you. And it's always nice to bounce ideas off of other people. Building relationships with those colleagues in your industry is key. Collaborating as a business, I think, is also very important because, again, you're both local businesses. If we're talking in the local business space, I'm thinking of your local town and maybe a coffee shop, and I'll use a real estate agent again because you're seeing the same people. You're living in the same area. This world is small. People seem to know everybody after a while, especially when you get online and, oh, you know her and you know him. And I think it's really about supporting each other, supporting other local businesses. We all have the same fears. Is my business going to be successful? Am I reaching the right people? Am I reaching anybody? So collaborating both as a business and as a consultant, I think is huge, very
You're just
beneficial.
so smart. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with the point about connecting with colleagues. I'm a huge proponent of creating mastermind groups, right? With you and, just like 3 or 4 other people who are not in your actual company. They're in other companies, other businesses, or other solopreneurs, if that's what you are as a social media marketing professional, perhaps. But people who are about the same pace in place in their journey in life so that you guys can get on a call every week or every month and talk together about what you're each experiencing and help each other. It's such a profound life experience to be able to help others because gosh, you're helping yourself the whole time. I'm wondering though, because we're talking about joining a new industry, trying to figure out what the audience is. We're learning a new company, of course. We're figuring out the market. We're learning about the players in that space. What about the channels? Because I know we're talking about a couple different industries, for instance. Already in this conversation, some might be really great on LinkedIn. Others obviously should be focusing on, say, Facebook or Instagram. Do you have a process for figuring that out, for testing or identifying what are the best channels for that particular sector or industry?
Absolutely. That's where the research comes in handy and the demographics. Where are these people online? If you're trying to target a 55 plus crowd, you're not going to be on Snapchat. You're going to be on, and I believe Facebook is still the most popular social media platform, but you're going to want to be where your clients and your prospects are. A lot of testing. You might know that this particular group of people that you're targeting is usually on Facebook and Instagram. So start there. If you're business to business, I think the obvious choice would be LinkedIn, but you don't know until you try. If you're doing things organically, you have more leeway if you're a new social media manager. If you're doing business to consumer, you go with the obvious. You see what your competitors are doing. Where are they at? If they're running ads, you can also check on that. But I mentioned before, I believe you should always try to do the best organically. Your foundation, your website, your Google business presence. Make sure everything is up and running in the foundation and build up from there. Some industries, I think, really do need that constant Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising. I know I'm using those two platforms, but a lot of the people that I've worked with in the past, those were their key platforms. But you do have to test. So go with the obvious after you've done your research and you understand who your avatar is, who your consumer is, see how that works. And then you can branch off, especially organically. You're not losing really anything. You can go to LinkedIn if you want to reach the business crowd, even consumers are on LinkedIn. For a real estate agent, they're trying to reach consumers. If they're on Facebook and Instagram, on LinkedIn, are they going to reach consumers? Sure. Is that going to be their main focus? Maybe they're thinking I'm reaching out to title reps, mortgage lenders, property management, relocation services. That's where they would probably do well. better on LinkedIn with a business approach. They would have to change their wording and their focus. But using the obvious that you've researched and you've seen successful in other businesses, especially your competitors, and just keep an eye out on the landscape. Always know what's going on. That's the thing about social media, digital marketing in general, is we used to have back in the day, we had postcards, flyers, events, then we got a website, then we're emailing, now we have social media, and it just keeps expanding. And once you learn something, it's like it's already changed. You have to learn again. So you kind of have to do that when you're working with clients and figuring out, well, this has worked for a while, but there's a lot of noise around this new platform. Is this something that we want to investigate? You don't have to throw all your eggs in one basket, but make sure that you're on top of where people are going and what seems to be successful. You can do that by reading industry publications. I find a lot of information from Facebook groups, Mary Smith on Facebook, Social Media Examiner, Agora Pulse blog, my colleague groups, Google Alerts, social listening. Always be on top of it so you know what is up and coming. Because the worst thing is to have your client ask you about something, a new platform or something new that's come out. They've seen the competitor do, and you don't know anything about it. So it's important once you've done the research, your researching isn't finished. It's ongoing because you have to go up with the times and the changes on all these platforms and new platforms too.
That is terrific advice, and thanks for shouting out folks like Mari Smith and Social Media Examiner, and of course, us appreciate that. We'll have links to those resources in the show notes. We even talked to Mari on this show early on because she is a fabulous resource, as is folks like Jen Herman. If you want to keep up with what's going on with Instagram, Mari
Yep.
is obviously all about Facebook. So those are terrific resources. I'm wondering, finally, my last question for you, Stacey, is if you're doing all these things. You are, leveraging UGC content, you're sharing your brand story, you've learned about your customers, and you're speaking in their voice. How are we measuring the impact of all these activities, particularly from that lens of we're just starting? We're not 12 months into this role and into this business. We're just 30, 60, 90 days in. How are you currently measuring the business impact of this social media activity on the industry from that industry context?
That's a great question because social media managers share in the frustration when you take on a new client. They want to know why the competitor has 10,000 followers and they only have 300. I think we've gotten a little bit away from that, but it was always about how many followers I can get. How many followers can I get? Well, you have 10,000 followers, but only 20 are interacting. So it's more about quantity over or quality over quantity. So how do you measure that then? You look at the engagement. For social media, you can see the engagement. You can also see if you're doing email campaigns, you can check all those analytics. Are people opening up the email? Are they clicking through? Are they going to the link that you wanted to send them to? Advertising is easier because you're paying for a certain amount. You're getting those analytics and you can see it right there. But organically, it's a little bit difficult to go to a client and explain that to them. It's it can be a slippery slope taking somebody on that's just looking for a vanity metric, whereas the business overall would be healthier with quality engagement. Measuring that, especially with those long game clients, those long-term clients or the real estate agents where they're not going to have someone knocking on the door. You've been posting on my social media, or I've been posting on my social media for 2 months now and I haven't gotten anything. Well, it takes time and you have to explain the organic process and getting into the algorithm and getting those engagements and likes. Now, if you have a product, they have people coming in the door. Not always, but you're able to see more quickly, especially the client. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all these phone calls. So that's great. But you also have to provide them with analytics. So that could be people in the door. It could be the staff making sure that when the client customer comes, they mark in the database, this person found us from the email, this person found us from Facebook. A lot of people don't do that. businesses, they're busy. They might have a receptionist, somebody at the front desk. They're busy. They're not going to go back in and mark that. But that's really important. That's kind of old school. How many people came in the door and you mark it? If product based or services that like a yoga studio or a coffee shop, they could mark that down. But if you have a long game client, long term client, getting away from the vanity metrics and really looking at the engagement, because you're going to see that growth eventually. And then with emails, clicking through what's happening. If you're running ads, who are they going to your product page? So I look at a lot of different things and see what's working. I don't want to sound hokey, but I remember feeling like a vibe when you met with the client and things were going well. You just all were on the same energy wavelength and things were really running. And so you want to stay and go with that. And it makes the consultant or the social media manager want to do a better job. So it's anything but vanity metrics. I think anything but likes. It's nice. I'm sorry, not likes. It's good to get the extra followers. It's good to add more followers. I'm always good to get engagements, but when it comes to followers, don't let that be the only thing you're looking at because in the end, you want those quality people who are going to ultimately become a customer.
Anything but vanity metrics. I love that. And you're absolutely right. It's got to start with setting expectations. And I know that's hard, folks. I get it. The businesses want results. That's what they're paying you for. You have to set expectations. You have to educate them on how to be realistic about social media. And you have to understand 9 times out of 10, you're not talking to somebody who is a social media professional. Maybe they've got marketing background. They probably don't, particularly if they're the kinds of small business owners we're talking about today. Attorneys, real estate agents, whatnot. They might not have any knowledge really of how social media works at a professional level. That's your job. Educate them and then measure everything you can. But I also love, Stacey, your point about a simple vibe check. And
Mhm.
and again, I know this is hard, folks. You're listening, particularly if you're doing freelance social media work and you need the money. But if you're talking to somebody and they're being very insistent about seeing results within 7 days, you got to pass. You're not going to meet those expectations and it's not going to work out at all. So definitely move on from that. But Stacey, this has been absolutely amazing. You've shared so many terrific insights. I know folks are going to want to go back and listen to it again. But if they want to reach out to you, if they've got more questions for you, where should they go?
They can find me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn handle is my name, Staci O'Prey. They can find me on Facebook, Stacy Paul O'Prey. They can find me on Instagram, Staci O'Prey, or they can email me, staciocprey@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, all of you, for listening. Of course, as always,
Thank
we will
you.
have all those links in the show notes below. And I appreciate if you find us on Apple, the Social Pulse Podcast, Retail Edition, and drop us a review. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you're getting out of these shows, what else you'd like to see in future episodes. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast, Retail Edition. Hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.